So you may have been told in a class, by a PT, by a friend, that you are leaning forwards too much when you squat, okay? So this is another one of these times when there are sort of certain absolutes. People say, you know, if you're squatting, your back must be at this angle, and yes, in an ideal world, but the thing is we're all put together slightly differently. We've got kind of different proportionally length limbs, etc. to each other. So it's not everyone can do every movement in exactly the same way. So the forward lean when you squat. So what we don't want is it to be a tip forwards, but we're talking about the lean of the upper body when you come down into your squat, okay? So for me, I have my femur length in relation to my upper body, and my lower leg is quite long. So I wouldn't be able to keep my upper body completely upright while I sit back into a squat. Gravity and physics just would not allow it. I would tumble backwards. So if you think, if I was going to try and keep my upper body completely upright, see where my leg length is, I would just tip myself backwards, okay? So for me, I will have more of a forward lean than some people in my squat because of the length of this part of my leg. Now, if someone has a much shorter femur, and in relation to the rest of their body, then they are going to be able to keep much more upright in their squat because they're not going to be sitting back as far away from their feet. All right, so it might just be that you have more of a forward lean than your friend because you're built a little bit differently to your friend. The things we would most be concerned about is it technically a good squat? So is your upper body in that good position? Are we not doing the duck butts? Are we keeping the core braced? Are we hinging at the hips? Is the whole foot staying in contact with the ground? All of those things we would look at more. And it might just be that you've got more forward lean because of the way you put together. Could also be because of lack of mobility in ankles. So I was working with someone the other day whose squat looked something like this. Okay, now, the reason for that, and the reason a lot of people do this, is because they completely lack mobility in their ankles, and they don't realise it. So if you watch when I drop down into my kind of normal squat, you'll see my shin moves forwards, I've got flexibility, I've got flexion here on my ankle, okay? Now, the person I was working with the other day, as they pushed their hips back and bent their knees, their ankles did not want to go any further. The ankles wouldn't move forward. So for them, the only way they felt they could get lower in their squat was to literally tip their body forwards. Okay, so if you are finding you're tipping forwards a lot in your squat, again, video yourself from the side. What are your ankles doing? Maybe it is your ankle mobility. And if it is, there are ways that you can work on that, but you may have to accept that at the moment, that's about as low as you go. One thing actually that you can do to help with ankle mobility or lack of in your squats is you can elevate your heels. So I would usually put one under each heel, but just grab one for now. So elevating the heels in your squat will help you to be able to sit back a little lower if you have got issues with ankle mobility, so you could give that a try. What you also want to do is work on your ankle flexibility and mobility so that your squat improves in the long term, but it could be either of those things. So forward leaning in your squat, maybe it's just to do with your leg length, or is it ankle mobility? So those are the things I would look at.